Hello, my friends, and welcome to episode 9 of the $20 or Less podcast. We're recording live on April 4th, 2015, and I'm your host, JD, aka Gaddock Teeg. With me today, as always, is my co-host, Cosmic Engine. How you doing today, Cosmic?
I'm good. Yeah, how's it going?
I'm doing alright. Yesterday was my birthday, and surprisingly, I am awake, not hungover. I am alive and here. So, one year older, 1 day older, and I'm happy to be here. So, what have you been playing? What video games have you been playing this week?
What have I been playing? Played some more Pillars of Eternity. Just totally addicted to that thing now. I
see you got your review out, so you're continuing to play after the review. That's a good sign.
Yeah, well, I want to play like I want to do another couple of characters and try a few different classes. And try the harder difficulties, like the equivalent of Nightmare Mode, I think, whatever it's called, and try that. Probably fail miserably. I've been playing. I tried to get into the new episode of the Game of Thrones.
Telltale game?
Yeah. But I haven't really got into it. To be honest, I don't really dig Game of Thrones like everyone else does.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, why? You have any idea?
All my favorite characters died in season 1. It's probably something to do with it. Like, I've read some of the books, and I can't abide George R.R. Martin in any kind of way. I really hate that man. And the thing is, there's a lot of people who watch the show but haven't read the books, so I understand why they like it. But like, the show has changed a significant amount of the details from the books. For example, because the books read, and they're okay as fantasy novels go, but they are somewhat creepy. For example, Daenerys in the books is only 13.
Yeah, that makes a big difference.
Kind of creepy.
Yeah, a little bit.
And I don't like his writing style, and I don't like the way that he... I think he kills off characters at this point now for critical acclaim rather than for story purposes. And I felt that like he was trying to make his universe a little bit too gritty, and I think it just comes off as very much like The Walking Dead does at this point on AMC. It kind of comes off as it's no longer the kind of shock and horror of all your characters dying,
right?
And no one is safe. As that kind of shine has gone,
right?
And now it just becomes irritating after a point.
Yeah, like that worked for a while, and I think got really big, and a lot of people tried to imitate like The Walking Dead and Game of Thrones style of, no one is safe, everyone is in danger, like constant peril, you never know what happens. But I think you can only do that for so long before that becomes rote.
Because the thing is about Game of Thrones, I like Game of Thrones setting. I like the overall universe that he created. I think it's a really interesting and well developed universe.
Right.
I like the parallels between England and Westeros. In the fact that there's like the wall at the northern edge of Westeros, which is like equivalent to Hadrian's Wall in England, cutting off Scotland, and like I like I like the parallels, and I think that the lore with the White Walkers and stuff like that is all really interesting. I just hate his story. I hate his story. I hate it. I think he tries to complicate things at points, and it's just it's trying to be cleverer than you are, and it comes off like that in the books. And then when you develop that into a show, all the annoying parts remain of that, in the fact that all the good characters die and all the crap characters remain. I mean, for example, Khal Drogo was one of the most fantastic characters in the first book and in the first season, and then he dies, and you're like, well, I'm no longer interested in Daenerys' story now, because I find her to be completely irritable.
Yeah. See, I enjoy the shows. I've never read the books. I'm, not that interested in reading the books. They just seem too dense for me. The show is dense enough as it is. But I think I would like to see, as you said, more stories told in that world, because the world is so cool. Like you said, and that's why I think the Telltale game might be interesting. I haven't checked it out.
The thing is with the Telltale game, though, it copies the show.
Yeah, it does.
It's like there was one character that I quite liked, like I thought that had potential in the first episode, who ends up dying in the first episode, and I'm like, oh well, there you go. It's the show all over again.
Yeah. Yeah, I usually wait till all the episodes get released in a Telltale series, so when all those actually get out, I will check it out. But for now, I guess I'll just leave it on the shelf.
Like in chat, they're saying that I haven't read all 5 books. I understand Daenerys' story is crucial to the overall arc. It doesn't change the fact that she's an annoying character.
See, I think she's a cool character, but we'll let that be. Game of Thrones talk over. We'll give everyone else a break.
I tried to play. I've got the. What I am excited about is playing the new Tales of the Borderlands episode, because that came out the other week, and I didn't have a chance to play it then. But I thought Tales of the Borderlands was really cool.
I actually really like that one too. That's one of the few ones I played. As I just said, I wait till all the episodes get released, but I just played the first episode of this when it came out.
Yeah.
I played it on the iPad, actually, on my flight when I was going to Japan this past year, and that was really cool. I think it was very well written. I think it really fit the universe. I thought it was a fun adventure. Obviously, it has some of the Telltale hooks, so if you have problems with Telltale games, you're probably going to have problems with this, and I think that playing it on the iPad really pushed those to the limits a little bit, because the iPad on top of, Twitch Reflex QTEs isn't a great combination, but the story is there. It's great.
Yeah, no, I like that, because I didn't like the Borderlands games all that much.
You don't like anything, do you?
No, not really. But the second one I liked because it was worth playing just for the story. The second one actually had a story. The first one didn't really have that much of a story. And the second one did have a story, because the second one was good because of Handsome Jack, who was the main villain. And that was the reason that you played that game, because the writing and the character was so well developed. I haven't played the pre-sequel because I just can't bring myself to be disappointed.
Yeah, me neither, yeah.
But I like the Tales of the Borderlands because I like it's story-focused, and it's a great universe and a great IP for story-focused games. So I really enjoyed the first episode, so I'm looking forward to playing the second one.
Yeah.
But other than that, I haven't really been playing much other than the game we're going to talk about later. And I've been playing a couple of early access games to do some videos on, but nothing that I haven't mentioned before. So
yeah, I've been playing. I continue to play Clash of Clans for no reason, but I think everyone is tired of hearing me talk about Clash of Clans, so I'm not going to discuss that any further. I've also played this strange game called Refresh the GameStop page while looking for the new wave of Amiibos to pop up. And that was a raucous event. That was great. And as we'll talk about in the news segment in a couple minutes, Amiibos are insane. I don't know why people like them. I don't know why they are releasing them the way they are releasing them. I don't know why I am buying them. I just got 3 more of these things. I don't know why I'm doing this. Help me. I need help. But so the next wave of Amiibos was released, and it has Ness. And Ness is a GameStop exclusive. So if you want to get Ness, you need to order it from GameStop. And they said at 3 o'clock, orders will go up. At 3 o'clock, I'm sitting there refreshing the page crashes, the page goes down, the page comes back, but they're not there. It was the most frustrating and annoying events I've ever participated in, and somehow I still want to get Ness. I have a problem.
Yeah, you Nintendo fans are like addicts.
We are. It's just like
Nintendo could bring out a little bit of paper with Mario's face on, and then you guys would go crazy over it. Like the thing is with Amiibos though, like it's the same. It's essentially the same as a Skylander, right?
Basically, it's even less than a Skylander because there really isn't one like Amiibo game where you play with the Amiibos. Right, you just get little things in each little game.
But that's the thing. Like, I think the reason people like Skylanders and Amiibos and stuff like that is that it kind of combines video games with tabletops. Mm-hmm. In the fact that you have like in tabletops, like if you're playing like a pen and paper RPG or you're playing a board game, you have like your pieces and stuff. Like you have something tangible, and then combine that with video games, then you have that's why people like it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't even care that I'm getting something in the game. Like, the only game I really have that I play and that uses them is Mario Party and Mario Kart. Those are the only games, and I don't think I've put the new ones that I just got in there. I just like them because they're
I don't get them. The other reason I was going to even attempt to buy Amiibos is to try and find one of the limited edition ones that or one of the ones that they brought out as a set, and then they discontinued after a while, and then sell it for a ridiculous amount on eBay.
I'll be honest, when I was going to get an S, I was planning on getting as many as I could to scalp a couple, but I just like them because they're pretty cool figurines. I think they're put together well. I played some 40K, so I like my miniatures. I like my little guys on stands. You obviously can't paint these, but I think they're put together well enough that I think that you don't have to. I think they're good on their own.
What's the main game Amiibo's used for now? Is it still Smash Brothers?
It's Smash Brothers is the real game. That's the one that every Amiibo works in Smash Brothers, and you get a little something. And
that's basically the main platform for them at the moment.
That is the main platform for Amiibos right now. So. Yeah, that's really as far as my gaming this week has gone. I haven't had a ton of time. I know that Hearthstone released an update, but I haven't had a chance to check out the new adventure mode. So we'll maybe next week we'll talk about that because I'm definitely interested in the adventure modes in Hearthstone. I think that the first one, Naxxramas, was good. I think it could have used some improvements, and I want to see how they've done in their second round. But let's move on from what we've been playing and move into a little news.
News.
So, news this week, we have moved from the period of time at the beginning of the year when there's no video game news to talk about into the period of time at the beginning of spring when there is no news to talk about. But
it's a good time.
Let's scrape the bottom of the barrel here and see what we can find. So, Nintendo had a Nintendo Direct, where they discuss the upcoming things you can expect to see from Nintendo. As I was just talking about, they discussed Amiibos, and more Amiibos. They discussed 2 new waves of Amiibos that will be coming out, including Zero Suit Samus. I know Bowser Jr. is going to be coming out. They discussed Splatoon Amiibos. So Splatoon is that new first-person shooter by Nintendo, which actually looks pretty interesting. I don't know what you think of Splatoon, but I think that could be a fun little romp.
I think most things Nintendo do just bores me intensely.
They also discussed a Yarn Yoshi amiibo that will be coming out, and they said that amiibos will be coming as trading cards as well. As if their business model wasn't crazy enough, now they'll be selling packs of collectible trading cards to use.
The thing is, you guys are going to buy them, so...
I know, we are.
It's technically your own fault.
Well, thanks. You make me feel great right now.
All right.
These trading card packs will mostly be used for the upcoming Animal Crossing game.
And then they'll be utterly worthless in 2 years.
In which you'll be able to put in new furniture, anything to decorate your house. Actually, I think that in that kind of model it might work. I think they've actually done that before. I'm pretty sure with the e-reader scanner on the Game Boy Advanced and the Game Boy Advance version of either Harvest Moon or Animal Crossing. I think they did that. So it shouldn't come as much a surprise that they're doing that again. And the final bit of news for you Nintendo fans, Lucas is coming to Smash. Lucas was left out of the most recent Smash iteration, and now he's back. I'm cool with it. I like Lucas. I'm a big fan of Earthbound. Mother, I'm all for it. No? Nothing? No? Alright.
I thought you meant George Lucas for a second there. Good choice.
Yeah. George Lucas would be kind of fun. I'd like to see him in a Smash Brothers game. Something.
Mm-hmm.
Let's move on to this next bit of news that you put in here. So, cloud gaming service OnLive has confirmed that it is terminating its service on April 30th and will shut down. What do you think? Online was an interesting service, I thought, that never really got off the ground.
Well,
you ever used it?
I did use it. Well,
I
used it once and I tried it and I was like, no, this is shit.
Yeah.
The thing is with cloud gaming, and this technology is great at the moment, but streaming is not.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just streaming games is not good. And on live, I mean, in England, I had I had fiber optic. I had really good speed, and it still looked crap.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that the cloud gaming technology is and the internet and all that kind of, they need to. I mean, let's take MMOs for example. MMOs can't solve lag and latency, and even World of Warcraft still suffers with it on occasion, and that's 10 years old. It's a situation where it's the internet and the cloud gaming technology is not at a point yet where that is at a high enough quality to be worth it. I think that if you have no other option, then I can understand why you would use OnLive or a cloud gaming service. But even then, I would use something else. It's not a feasible thing right now. To the point where it's good enough quality. I mean, I tried to play Dawn of War 2 to test it a long time ago, and it just looked pixely. It was slow. It was laggy, and it just wasn't worth it. I mean, you're paying money to do this. I mean, you're better off saving your money and like buying a game or something, or buying a machine. Like it's not the technology is not at a point where it's worth doing, and I think that it was always bound to happen because the service wasn't at the point where it was high enough quality, and it wasn't a good experience. So it was always going to happen because they just weren't going to make the money. So it's going to shut down April 30th, and then it sold 140 cloud gaming patents to Sony, which it did that. I mean, people say, well, that means that Sony are going to get into it. That doesn't. It just means that Sony just want to sit on the patents.
Sony has PlayStation Now, so they could be using it to improve that structure that they have.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, I would say they were just going to incorporate into their current infrastructure. I don't think they're going to like start a new cloud gaming service for PC or anything like that. It's just that's business. When a company goes under, you want to take their patents,
right?
Because you might use them at some point. So.
Yeah, I mean, OnLive was always a situation that I think was ahead of its time. I think maybe in 5 years, 10 years, when everyone has readily accessible fiber optic internet or the next level of whatever fiber optic will be, it's just an infrastructure thing. I think with time it'll be more and more viable. But I also think that they never had a great business model to really make things work. And I think PlayStation Now has the same problem. Paying $60 on day one to rent a game is never going to make you money. Like, if you're going to charge exorbitant amounts of money to rent a game, then no one's going to do it. I think they need to work on that business model. I think that if we're looking at a lot of companies going to an non-a la carte method, like an all-you-can-eat method, really, like the Netflixes and the Hulus, you pay one price and you get access to everything. I think that's the business model that people like. I think that's what people want. They don't want to pay and then have restrictions on top of that. So I think that if they could improve that, if Sony can improve that, I think they have what will be something of the future. I think there's definitely a market for this. I think that there are people out there that want to be able to rent games instead of having to buy games. I know games are expensive. That's one of the show's hallmarks. So anything that we can do to diversify the ways that players get access to games. And, it even could cut into the piracy problem that we have. A lot of people can't afford games, so they just pirate games. But if there's a service where you pay, just like Netflix, and you get access to all the new games that you want to play, at least you're making something off those people. And maybe it'll help. I don't know. It's a great idea in theory, I think. And I think that it will do well in the future. So do we want to talk about the Pillars of Eternity thing this week? Do you want to go into that? What do you think?
You can.
Yeah. All right. Let's go into this Pillars.
You put it in there.
Yeah, I know. I was gonna ask you if you wanted to talk about it before we started, but I forgot to. So let's just do this live.
I know.
So Pillars of Eternity was at the center of a minor controversy or controversy, as I'm sure you would say, regarding a backer-written limerick that was found in the game. So Pillars of Eternity was obviously a Kickstarter game, and if you paid $500, you got to write a little headstone that could be read within the game. You had to seek it out and actually look for it. This wasn't part of the main storyline or anything. And one of the poems or limericks or whatever was this. Here lies Firedorn, a hero in bed. He once was alive, but now he's dead. The laid woman oh no, that is the last woman he bedded turned out a man, and crying in shame off a cliff he ran. So this sparked a little bit of controversy, as I was just saying, from people calling this transphobic, saying that this has no place in video games, that this should be removed immediately, demanding Obsidian take this out of the game. And this past week, Obsidian has somewhat caved. They discussed with their backer, they figured something out that would work for everyone. They just basically changed the poem so that the backer was happy with it. They didn't have to do it, but they did. They discussed it with the backer, so I think it's an okay change. That I'm not going to debate that. If they wanted to change it, if the backer was okay with it, whatever. But I just don't see the problem with this. And maybe someone else can explain this to me, and no one has explained this to me. How is this transphobic? How? I in no way. This is discussing an event. There's not like a laugh track behind it. People are calling this a joke, and I know the developers called it a joke, but I don't see how this is a joke. Where is this supposed to be funny? Where is this we're supposed to laugh at these people? This is just discussing an event, an unfortunate event. You're not supposed to be happy when you read this. What? Why? Can you explain this to me?
It's a complicated one. It depends. This is a case of how you interpret it, right?
Yes.
Now, I can understand to some degree why someone who was transgender could possibly take offense to it, right? But I think that there's a lot of people who missed a few steps. For example, the actual segment doesn't indicate anything about the woman who turned out to be a man as being transgender. Doesn't say that.
Nope.
All it states is that the person he slept with he mistook for a woman. So this could have been a transgender. It could have been a cross-dresser. It could have just been an androgynous person. It could have been just so drunk that he just mistook a man for a woman, and whatever. I don't think that it necessarily meant transgender, nor do I think that it was transphobic in any way. I don't think it was trying to be transphobic, and I think that the fact that the backer themselves changed it, I don't think the backer themselves changed it because people were like, you're being transphobic. I think they changed it because they didn't want to offend anyone. Mm-hmm. And I think it was a little bit of an overreaction. And because I can't see how. I don't think it's particularly offensive, personally. I think that I can understand people taking it the wrong way or interpreting it in the wrong way. Does that mean that the content should change? Mm. I'm not sure, because and here's the thing. This is it. The thing I worry about is not this specific case, but I think that I worry about the precedent, in the fact that if a group of people get annoyed or upset or take offense to something, does that mean that if they make enough noise, the content creator of the game has to change the content? And that in any game? Does that mean that that developers now have to basically vet everything that they put in the game? Even, like, for example, what if you created a character who was offensive, that was part of his character? Maybe he was an ignorant character for story reasons, mm-hmm. right? That you came, like, for example, take The Witcher, right? The Witcher is offensive in so many ways, right? Not Geralt himself, but the characters that you come across in the Witcher series. They are ignorant, they are intolerant, they are racist, they are homophobic, they are all kinds of things. So are people going to take offense to every NPC that you come across in The Witcher? And therefore, does then CD Projekt Red have to change every single NPC? Is essentially changing the story, changing the universe to not make it offensive to people? Because you said that's what the precedent is that we don't like what you've put in your game, so change it.
Yeah, I mean,
that's not okay. That's not okay. And I understand that people like this, and I think the only reason this was changed is because it was a backer piece of content and not Obsidian's themselves. Because I think if it was Obsidian's themselves, they would have turned down and said no.
Yeah, I mean, I think that they. I mean, this is obviously it's a tough issue to talk about, but I think that someone's this wasn't something that was blatantly offensive. This was something that was interpreted as offensive by some people.
Yeah.
I think that if we're going to start changing things because some people take it as offensive, that's when we're having some problems. Like, if something is blatantly offensive, if there's blatantly, racial problems or transphobic things, if there are things that are very blatant, and I think it's a case of it when you see it. Like, you know when something is wrong, when something is not how it should be, when it's offensive to someone, when it's trying to be offensive, when it's playing to stereotypes.
Yeah.
There are things that are blatant, and obviously
I don't think that was in any way insidious, and it didn't come across as insidious in any way. It didn't come across as an attack or anything like that. I think the people have overreacted massively, and I think people, and this isn't a case of having tougher skins. People just need to chill out. I mean, I feel like every group in gaming now, every diverse minority, it doesn't matter. You could be a straight white male, you could be transgender, you could be gay, you could be anything. Everyone's trying to shout for a voice. Why don't you just play video games instead? Like, keep politics to yourselves.
Yeah.
You want to talk about politics, go to a bar and talk about politics with your friends or something. Like, I don't understand why people feel the need that they have to impose their views on a video game. Like, why? Let the video game be the video game. If you don't like it, don't play it. Don't try and change it.
Right. I mean, it just bugs me that they would change something that has so many different interpretations and so many other implications to this world. This could have been a character that knew he was sleeping with a man. Maybe this was a gay character that was closeted in this world that obviously doesn't accept gay characters, doesn't accept trans characters. This could have been any one of those things. This was written clearly by someone who was not the person being discussed here. It wasn't written by either of the two characters. It was written by whoever wrote this headstone. Yeah, and this is their interpretation of the events. If we're going to start changing things because of possible implications, I think that's too far.
Yeah, I mean, I don't get it. I mean, it doesn't... It's a strange one. I mean, especially in the context of how it was written and what it's supposed to be, because isn't it supposed to be like a gravestone thing?
Yes, this is
like
the old gravestone.
Like it's almost supposed to be like the thing in in Arizona, isn't it? Is it in Arizona, in Tombstone, where the famous here lies so and so, and he got shot and whatever. Like, it's not. It's just an odd. It just seems to me to be an odd thing to pick out. Of all the games, especially Pillars of Eternity, where that game is very, like, it's all about different kinds of things. Like, for example, you have a wizard in there who, it's all about the souls of characters, and basically it's the game world is created around reincarnation, that basically a soul goes back into cycle and then comes back down to a newborn, and basically some people have awakened souls so they can remember their past lives. And if you have an awakened soul, that means that the past lives can come through. For example, one of the wizards, who's one of the main characters in the game, he is an elf, and he has an awakened soul. So one of his past lives was this like Scottish woman, and she just comes out and takes control and speaks gibberish sometimes, and it's hilarious. But so he's essentially two people in one person. And I just feel like it's just the strangest thing to pick out. And I feel like this, And it's almost, if I was a cynical person, I would almost go as far as to say they chose this piece because it was a backer piece, because they knew they could probably get it changed.
Yeah, I mean that's a possibility.
Right?
I don't know. It's just so odd to me.
I don't mind if something's genuinely offensive. That's okay. If you want to make it like a thing about it and say, look, this is really, really offensive to us, and like this really upsets people, and okay, then fine, say something about it, have a discussion about it. Let's see what we can do. And I don't mind championing stuff like that, but I just feel like this is so silly. Like it's almost like to the people who like went for this, like this needs changed. This needs changed. Is this a victory in any way? Like, is it? Because I don't see it to be one. I don't see this to be a particularly a worthy cause for this. Like, this isn't big.
Yeah, and as you were saying, I don't like talking about precedents and things. I think that if something is wrong, it should be changed. Doesn't matter what the precedent is set. I'm not big into setting precedents and having a problem with that. But in this case, doesn't it just seem like it's someone demanding that they not write about transgendered people? Like,
yeah, it's all because that's what it's. I mean, it's essentially been accused of it. I mean, that's the issue.
Is that a taboo topic that can't be written about? Like, that's what it seems like. That's what it seems to me. Of this, like, someone could take offense to anything. That I think. I
think it was. I watched a YouTube show called The Young Turks, which is like an American like news show, I guess. And the guy once said on there that people on Twitter are psychologically incapable of not being offended. And it's like that because that's what Twitter is. Twitter is an outrage machine. It doesn't matter what it's about.
Yeah.
It's like people just pick on something. And like I was reading tweets on the Kotaku argument. Like someone said that like one of the tweets was that you can't use a bloody/gritty setting as an excuse for lazy writing. Simply, if you want to portray prejudice, there's ways to do it well. And I'm like, what do you mean? It's a backer piece of content. He's not a writer. He's a backer who put money into the game, so he got to write a little bit of segment, and he tried to write something like a little bit, I don't know, quirky, funny, whatever. I don't think it's necessarily an outright joke. I think it's just supposed to be kind of like a funny little anecdote.
That's the thing. It's just a thing. I don't think it's a joke at all.
I don't see why it's like. I mean, because I'm pretty sure this doesn't offend transgender people all over the world. Like, I'm pretty sure there's plenty of transgender people that just sat there and go, "Who cares?" Like, it doesn't mean anything. I just feel like this is just silly. Like, what's the point of this?
Yeah. I don't know. I do like that they've posted what the poem will be, and forgive me because I'm reading off a very pixelated image of the new poem that they're putting in here. And the new poem is, "Here lies Firedorn, a bard, a poet. He was also a card, but most didn't know it. A poem he wrote was just misread. They asked for blood, and now he's just dead." So I like that they're kind of poking fun at the whole situation. It's a crazy situation, and I don't know. It's a thing that happened, I guess. I don't know.
But here's the thing, like, one of the comments on Kotaku, and this is what gets me, right? This is one of the comments of someone on Kotaku who just says about that, who says misread but didn't know it. And then they replies, not misread. It was really gross, transphobic joke. It was pretty clearly about a guy who killed himself out of embarrassment for having sex with a trans woman. That's tasteless, childish, and this joke makes you just look like an asshole now. And I'm like, well, no, it's not pretty clearly about a guy who killed himself about embarrassment of having sex with a trans woman. It's about a guy who killed himself for waking up, being in bed with a man, not a trans woman. Nowhere does it say it's a trans woman. Nowhere does it imply that while he was drunk, the person that he slept with was a trans woman. It doesn't say that. Nowhere does it say that.
Yes, it's up to your interpretation, obviously, and people can interpret different things different ways. I don't think that's a cause for outrage. Like that's
People are stupid. Aren't they?
yeah, I don't know. All right, so let's move on from this. I feel like we're getting ourselves in trouble somehow. I don't know how.
I'm not in trouble.
Let's get on to the game of the week here. So this week's game of the week is The Vanishing of Ethan Carter, published and developed by the Astronauts, who were formerly of People Can Fly, who did Painkiller, Bulletstorm, Gears of War Judgment.
I loved Bulletstorm.
Yeah, I never played that. It looked cool. It
Great
had like
game, go play it,
a grappling hook, right? That was like the hook of the
whip.
game, no pun intended.
It was a whip. Yeah, it's like a plasma whip. It was awesome.
Yeah, is that on PC? Can you get that on PC?
Yeah.
Oh, it is. Oh, I'll check it out.
No,
next,
you should
Steam
go
sale,
play that.
maybe.
It's still one of my favorite FPSs.
Yeah. Oh, all right. I'll have to try that out. So you can go check out the website and you can purchase it on Steam in the show notes. It is $19.99 right now, but it's on sale, 66% off. I think it was when we picked it up. So if you hurry, you might be able to still get that deal.
Mm-hmm.
So this game was released last year. There was a little bit of buzz around it. I think at E3 it was featured at one of the press conferences. I can't remember which one exactly it was. It was praised for its look, and goddamn, this game is beautiful.
Isn't it?
This is probably the best looking game I've ever played. Ever.
It's probably one of the best looking games I've ever played. It was phenomenally good looking. I couldn't believe it. I said to the missus, I said that I put it like the screen, I full screened it, and I just was looking over the lake, and I turned around. I said if I saw that clip on YouTube, just like a little segment of like the landscape, I wouldn't be sure if it was real or not.
Absolutely, yeah. It's the water, the mountains, the vistas, everything is so good. Even the plant life, which plant life is never a strong suit of video games versus like you often have like flat just plants, that's all you get. This game does it really well. I don't know how they did it, what they're doing that other people aren't, because why don't new next generation games look like that? Why are we still stuck with, PS3 graphics, Xbox 360 graphics? Why don't games look like that anymore? I thought when we got Crysis, we were moving to the next level.
I think it depends. It depends on a lot of things. It depends, like, for example, like it's not a massive map. Mm-hmm. Like, it's fairly large, right, but it's nothing compared to something like Skyrim. Yeah,
and they do reuse some assets. Some of the buildings have similar assets in it.
But I think it's a case of that the map isn't massive. They're not trying to create a whole world. They're just creating a specific area. So they probably had a lot more time to really hash out the detail. But I was really impressed with the high resolution textures on the rocks and on everything. I thought it was really great. The lighting was fantastic. I mean, visually it was phenomenal.
Yeah, it has just a great tone and look and sound. The sound design was absolutely stellar. I think it just gets you into this mood, this air of mystery. And we haven't talked about the gameplay at all yet because there isn't much there. This is a narrative experience game, really. There are some gameplay elements in there, but it's mostly just the story, the setting.
Yeah. I mean, essentially what it is it's a story-driven game that is about you play Paul Prospero, who is basically video game John Constantine, and he's like a detective, but with like witchcraft and all that. And he received a letter from a boy called Ethan Carter, who's gone missing. And so he travels to the town where Ethan Carter lives to try and find him because he's obviously in danger from demons or spirits or whatever. And the gameplay is fairly simple. It's essentially a walking simulator with detective elements. And I really like the detective elements. I think they're great. So when you come across things that you can look at, you basically just click and it'll start listing off words. Like, for example, if you came across like a dead body, it'll list off possibly how he was killed, and it'll list like what you can see. And then essentially what you have to do is you have to reconstruct crime scenes. So you have to find the murder weapon, you have to find bits and pieces and you have to return them to their original place. So if the train at the start of the game, there's a train, and you have to put that back to where it was before the murder took place. And then essentially, once you've put everything back in its original place, you can then go to the corpse, and then you can enter spirit mode, and it will you'll be able to reconstruct the crime scene and watch the crime, and then you have to, there's bits of places, and then you have to put them in order of each scene, what happened, and you have to put it in order, and then once you've put it in the correct order, you can watch what happens. And then once you've watched the murder and the crime unfold, the spirit of the dead body will give you like a little bit of story into what happens or where to go next. And that's essentially the game. Like there's some puzzles in there, but it's essentially about going through the town, looking, solving the crimes, solving the various murders, and then each murder connects to Ethan and connects to where Ethan's gone.
Yeah.
And that's basically all it is.
Yeah, and I think it's important to note that the game tells you none of this. Going into the game, the first thing you see is this is a narrative experience. We're not going to hold your hand. You just do your thing. So you can walk around. I actually did not know about the detective thing, about putting things in place and having to restore the crime scene. I actually missed the train one, the first one, entirely.
I missed it first time round.
The second one, I finally saw it, and I'm like, well, this is kind of out of nowhere. This is weird.
I got the second one, but missed the first one.
Yep.
Because I picked everything up on the first one, like all the objects that you needed, but I didn't realize you had to put them back.
Right, yeah.
But I did it by accident on the second one, and then I realized, so I went back and did it again. But the point of it is essentially the point of the game is to find Ethan, find out what's happened. It's a linear experience, but it's not, in the sense that at certain points you have to solve a certain crime to progress. But before that, you can literally walk anywhere you want, and you can go. Like for example, the first couple of crime scenes you can do in any order. Like I say, I finished the second one first and the first one second, and did that. But essentially, the idea is to find out what happened, and then you can basically. There are some crime scenes that you can miss, but still complete the main story and find out what happened to Ethan. But at the very end, it basically gives you a map of the things that you missed, because you have to complete everything to get the full picture of exactly what happened and what's if the demon's still around or whatever, and there's bits and pieces of that.
Yeah.
There's a couple of puzzles in there, like I mentioned, and the puzzles are actually quite obscure and difficult.
There's definitely some pixel hunting in there too, I think. Like, if you don't have a guide up on the second screen, you're probably going to miss some things because they hide them in very strange and out-of-the-way places. Like,
yeah, the one thing that did annoy me was the pages that you can read. Like, you get, there's notes scattered around with important information on, and you can't pick them up. That annoyed me, because I would have liked to have like an inventory to be able to look back at what I've read. Especially for specific puzzles where I had to write a name or get something in the right order. I would have liked to been able to do that. That annoyed me a little bit. But the atmosphere of the game is fantastic, and I like that it didn't hold your hand and there was no tutorial. You just kind of had to go, and it kind of added to the experience. I thought that you kind of like, you dropped into this, like, that there's like demons and there's a darkness, and you have no idea if you can fight. You have no idea if you don't. You just kind of dropped in the deep end. And I really like that. I thought that added to it.
And I think the atmosphere is by far the strongest part of this game. It's stunning how well this game does atmosphere. Like, there was a great moment where you walk into a church, and just very subtly in the background, Gregorian chanting starts, and just. You wouldn't, if you weren't thinking about it, you probably wouldn't notice it, but just the little things that really add to the atmosphere of the game that make it feel strange and dark and foreboding. There are supernatural elements in the game if you haven't picked that up yet. We're talking about demons and ghosts and things like that. I think they do cheapen it a little bit with there's a jump scare area, and I personally hate jump scares. I think that doing it in the way this game does them is very much poor taste. I don't think they fit in the game style.
You're talking about the mine?
Yes, I'm talking about in the mine. Yeah,
but that's the only one in the game.
Yeah, I know, but I think that's the worst way to do it, is just to have...
I don't know, I thought it was okay because you didn't have one. There was like such a long period before you had one, and then that's like the only one in the game, and I thought, well, okay, I'll let you off with that.
See, I think that the game does such a good job of making you always feel on edge and making you feel like you're... That's when horror games in general, I think, are at their best. When they always make you feel on edge, they don't have to do anything to really pay off with that. They can just keep making you feel on edge and just keep doing it. I think that's when a game can do that. They have great atmosphere, like the Vanishing of Ethan Carter does. They can really make you feel. And actually, as someone says in the chat here, this game felt a lot like Myst.
Yeah, there's no combat. It's all about visual and kind of puzzles and detective work. And I thought, like, when you go into detective mode and stuff, and you get to replay the crime, and I thought the voice acting of all the characters was really well done, especially of the characters who were possessed. They did feel very like they sounded like creepy and kind of murderous, and that was good. I liked that, and I liked how it was very much by piecing each crime scene together. You kind of got to know each character's motivations and what they were doing, which added to the overall narrative of what happened. And you kind of, like, for me, for example, I got attached to the grandfather because the grandfather, I don't want to spoil it, but the grandfather, he does something that kind of maybe was like, oh, I like him. So you kind of get attached to some of the characters involved, even though they're a bit nut jobs. But I thought it was a great game. It's not particularly long.
No.
I think I completed the main story. I didn't complete everything because there's 2 puzzles in there that I'm still stuck on. I don't know how to do, so I'll probably have to look it up online at some point. But it took, like, to get through the main story and to complete most of the the crime scenes, it'd probably take you like 3 to 4 hours. And that's with explore it, like that's with me like running around like a headless chicken at points, and not knowing where to go. It's okay. I
think this game ideally is played where you go as far as you can, do as much as you can, experience the world by yourself, and then pull up a guide and just go through the actual story elements, so you don't miss anything. I think there's something to be said about experiencing things on your own without having your hand holded. But at a certain point, you just want to get the story and get it done with, and experience what they've written and what they've put in game.
Yeah, I mean, there's no reason why you can't finish the story. I mean, I didn't. There's no point in the actual main storyline that I needed to look at anything to complete it. So you should be able to go through the main story without doing that. But like some of the puzzles and the afterthoughts, you probably have to look up because like I'm just completely stuck on one. Just keep getting it wrong. Drive me insane.
That's part of the problem with games like this. Sometimes if you just don't, it's like old school point and click games. If you just don't get how the developers were thinking about it, you just don't get it. And it's easy to miss things in this game sometimes. So yeah, overall, how do you say your time with the game was?
I loved it. I thought it was great. I mean, the game won. I think it was the Innovation BAFTA this year, and I thought it was well deserved. I really loved the detective part of it. I would have liked there to been more detective parts, because I thought that was so much fun just to try and get the chronology in order of what happened, and looking around and inspecting things. I thought that was really fun. I really liked that. I thought the visuals were just amazingly good. I thought I really liked the game. Yeah, I would recommend it to people. I think it's a really, really nice looking game. I think it's one of those games that, even though it's short, it's worth it because it's such a good experience. Because I don't believe in the thing that a game has to necessarily be a certain amount of hours before you get your money's worth. I think you can get your money's worth with this. I think if you don't like first-person walking simulators and you don't like the idea of not doing anything apart from looking at things and trying to work it out, don't get it because you'll hate it.
Yeah.
But if you kind of want that experience and as I say, the music, the voice acting, and the story is really, really good. So it's kind of one of those games that you need to sit down in a dark room and just completely immerse yourself in, and then you will get the full experience out of it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this is a genre that's very polarizing. There are some people that love these types of games, and there are some people that despise these types of games and feel like they should not be allowed to be made. So if you're one of those people, obviously you're not going to like this game. This is a walking simulator. It's a narrative experience. You know, it's debatable whether it's a game. It has game elements in it.
I think it is a game. I think there's certain walking simulators that you can't class as games, but I think that this can be classed as a game because there's enough mechanics in there to justify it.
Yeah, that's a debate for another day. Like I'm in the camp that this is just a game. It just does enough. That has just enough mechanics to make it make me consider it a game. But that's whether it's a game or not. That shouldn't matter. What should matter is if you enjoy your time with the game. And while I didn't necessarily love all the mechanics, and I had some definite issues with how the game does certain things, I think that I liked it a lot, and the presentation really it drives home the enjoyment of this game. That even though I didn't like the mechanics sometimes, I loved the presentation so much that I think this game is a recommend for me. I think that
I think if you could pick it up on sale, it makes it more worth it.
Absolutely. If you can get it for the 60% off sale that's going on right now, absolutely 100% recommend it. For $20, your mileage may vary. So,
yeah, I would agree with that, yeah.
Yeah. So if this was the one game that you picked up this week, how would you feel about that?
I'd be happy with it, me.
Yeah,
I think at the same time, I think for most people, I think if you can get it on the 60% off, much better.
For sure. Steam sales are a godsend. So let's go ahead and wrap up the show here. Let's talk about the contest. Last week I was giving away a copy of Valkyria Chronicles. It was a Twitter contest this time, and the winner was Ben Allen at BZA0047. So make sure you're following the show so I can DM you with information on how to pick up your free copy of the game. So where can people find you, Cosmic?
You can go to my YouTube channel at youtube.com/thecosmicengine, and I will have some early access examinations coming up next week, and maybe a review. I don't know. When's the 14th?
14th, I think, is next week.
It's the week after, isn't it?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah, the week after. So the week after, I'll be trying to review Mortal Kombat 10.
Ooh, man.
So see how that goes.
Yeah.
But yeah, so probably next week I'll probably just have early access examinations going on. Probably taking a look at Victor Vran, and maybe a couple of others, but we'll see.
Cool. If you'd like to contact me, you can find me at GTeeg on Twitter. That's GTEG on Twitter. You can also email me at gaddockteeg@gaddockgaming.com. And if you'd like to contact the show, you can follow us at 20orLESS Podcast. You can email us at 20orlesspodcast@gmail.com. We also have a Steam group now. We'll be consolidating all our game recommendations there in one nice place. So if you'd like to discuss the show or find out the games that we've talked about in previous episodes and what we thought about it, you'll be able to find that. Soon we'll be a curator, Steam curator, so you can follow us that way as well. And keep an eye out. I'll be giving away a copy of The Vanishing of Ethan Carter. You can follow us on Twitter to find out how we will be giving that away later this week. And unless Cosmic has anything else to say, we will be finished with this episode. So thank you very much for coming, and we shall see you next time.